There are many rules to living in a dictatorship of the bankers, to living in a tyranny, to living under despotism. But one of the most important rules, probably the cardinal rule of tyranny, is to criminalize the non-criminal, to make everything criminal, to pass so many laws that no one even knows what the laws and regulations and bureaucracies are, and all the new little fake courts and bureaucracies, to where everyone at any time can be investigated and imprisoned or fined and feed to the tyranny. And thousands of laws are being passed criminalizing all behavior, basically. Or there's not even a law that you have to be vaccinated, but if you don't vaccinate your kids, they'll CPS them in many cases. Or there's no law that you can't yell at your children or even spank them, but they imprison you and take your children when there is no law. That's on record. See, this is what a tyranny is, and they have their administrative law courts. They have these family law courts that are really the eugenics law courts set up in the last 100 years in the Western world. And that's all historical fact. And so I covered this article in the last hour, Government Demands Inventory of All VFW Weapons. And it says, we don't care if it's a Spanish-American War, Civil War. We don't care if it's over 100 years old. We will send the BATF and the FBI with SWAT teams for stolen military equipment. Now, see, swords, knives, tanks, missiles. The Fed said, we want to give you decommissioned. You see on a lot of them gifted by the U.S. Army to VFW chapter. And you drive through small towns and see the VFW, and there'll be a helicopter and a tank. Or there'll be a missile, or there'll be an old howitzer, or there'll be a World War I gun, or there'll be a Spanish-American War gun, or there'll be a gun of the Confederacy next to a gun of the... You see them everywhere. You see them at the capitals. They'll even have Revolutionary War cannons at some of the state capitals. Some of the mortars, little cannons pointing straight up. Old-fashioned mortar was just a cannon at an angle. And so nobody has these records. These guys are in there grilling steaks and hamburgers and drinking beer and playing poker and 42 dominoes. I mean, that's what's going on at the VFW, ladies and gentlemen. They're talking about deer hunting. They're talking about, whose house they're renovating and, their construction job, and how their kid just got into A&M. They're not, and they're there worshiping the government and whatever it says. They're good people. They're just completely ignorant on average. Well, now the Homeland Security document comes out and says veterans are the number one threat, gun owners are the number one threat. It's public. I told you, you're the enemy. They know you're not going to go along with what's about to happen in this country. This is really happening. And so we went over this entire document earlier. Did you guys print me this document like I was asking? I forgot at home to print the actual document on the Government Demands Inventory of All VFW Weapons. We have the document and the inventory form. Print that for me, because I want to show that. Or you can go to the website, just click on it, actually. We can just show people that way, because we just started simulcasting. We're going to simulcast for 3 hours today of the 4-hour radio show at prisonplanet.tv. So I need to add, we are simulcasting right now at prisonplanet.tv. We normally do the 3rd and 4th hour, but a lot of days we do the whole 4 hours, or more often than not, we do 3 hours of the show. Ron Paul has never joined me from basically the floor of the House, but he's got he was scheduled for a week because he's scheduled every month to be on with us at 12:30 Central Standard Time, 1:30 Eastern, and they're in floor debates right now, and he wants to get up and speak about the bill to audit the Fed that's got over 200 sponsors right now. Key story up on prisonplanet.com from Steve Watson, and we're going to have Ron Paul with his cell phone from somewhere in the gallery or the rotunda there, calling in sometime in the hour. So heads up on that. And maybe an abbreviated interview as well, so we'll have to get back with him soon. Because duty calls, as they say, on the front lines of the legislative fight against our occupiers, the dictators, the private criminal central bank, Federal Reserve, now being subpoenaed by Congress. See, this idea of subpoenaing them is now out there.
Are you concerned for the safety of your loved ones? Listen closely to this message from pepperspray.com. Every 22 seconds a violent crime is committed. America has changed, and your personal safety is your first priority. Be smart, be safe. Trust Pepper Spray instead of your luck. Pepperspray.com is the only website you'll ever need for all of your non-lethal self-defense supplies. Pepperspray.com carries one of the largest assortments of pepper spray and personal safety products on the web. From big to small, we have it all. Pepper spray, mace, animal repellents, stun guns, and tasers. Pepperspray.com also carries a large assortment of products for personal, home, child, and pet safety. Enter SAFE in the coupon box and you'll receive a special discount off of your order. So what are you waiting for? Go to pepperspray.com. That's pepperspray.com or call 1-800-908-9988 today.
This is very exciting, ladies and gentlemen. Think about the successes we've had. Nobody knew the Federal Reserve was private 15, 20 years ago. I mean, maybe 1% of the public. Now it is beginning to become a majority. It's huge issues all over the news. They can't hide the fact it hasn't been audited in over 50 years. They can't hide the fact that it's an offshore private bank now and that it's been stealing all this money. They can't hide the fact that all the gold's gone from Fort Knox. They can't hide the fact that we've been shanghaied. There was a corporate takeover in 1913, and they've slowly been expanding the takeover of the states and our society, and now they're figuring out we're awake to them, so they're just trying to steal everything at one time. And they think arrogantly that the public's so stupid that we're not going to bring them to justice. Well, we are going to bring the New World Order to justice, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm going to cover bill to audit Federal Reserve. Now has 207 co-sponsors. Steve Watson, Infowars.com, PrisonPlanet.com, Infowars.net. Key story that everybody needs to read and see. This is so exciting. And even if it doesn't pass this time, they only need like 11 more. Even if it doesn't pass, this has gone from when he used to introduce this 10 years ago. I remember interviewing Ron Paul in 1996 when he introduced these bills, when he first got back in Congress. He'd been there for one stint in the 70s. And he would have like 3 or 4 sponsors. He's now 207, and people are blowing their phones off the hook. And even if they say no and don't pass it, people are saying, wait a minute, we can't audit them, we can't question them, we can't find out what this private group that says it's above the law is doing. Here's Forbes and AP today. Congress subpoenas Fed over Bank of America deal. Here's AP. I mean, this is everywhere. Congress subpoenas the Fed. Before, it was this mind game trick of saying the Federal Reserve doesn't handle money. The Federal Reserve doesn't tell the IRS what to do. You just write your check to the Federal Reserve when you pay the IRS. The Federal Reserve's not offshore. The Federal Reserve's audited. All lies. All lies. Now they've switched to, yeah, okay, we're above the law, big deal. And people are calling their bluff. And now Bernanke isn't arrogant. The bankers aren't arrogant now when you see them before Congress. They are freaked out. And they all need to go to prison. And it's because I've been calling for them to go to prison, and so is Ron Paul on this show, that I'm getting death threats, dirty tricks, extortion, harassment. And I'm not going to get into it on air. It's just, believe me, folks, we are under attack, and it is intensifying. It is intensifying, so pray for us, support the money bomb tomorrow. Think of how far we've come just on this. And they've tried to pass all these blanket amnesty plans. Those all fail. They've tried to pass all these gun confiscation bills. Those are failing. And they always come back and fight back, but we're fighting back. We're finding our fighting spirit here. This is historical. So I'm going to get back into Congress subpoenas the Fed, the bill to audit the Fed, all that's coming up with Ron Paul. But the top story today was going to be what's happening right now with audit the private Federal Reserve. That is huge. That is historical. God knows what tricks they're going to play. Starting new wars, staging terror attacks, who knows, to get our minds off this. I mean, they're criminals. We're calling your bluff. They're con artists. It's a fraud. The government's illegitimate. It's not our republic. All we got to do is point this out and get the word out. They will fail. Police and military are waiting for us to have the strength politically so they can somewhat more safely come out and tell the truth. I say throw caution to the wind. Justice be done by the heavens fall, as I love to say. I am committed to this. The enemy would be completely defeated if all the real men and women out there would stop having their teeth chatter and their knees knocking and would commit to the cause of liberty 110% and sign your John Hancock on this new Declaration of Independence and Liberty against the technocratic eugenicist elite. But that's coming up. But I want to just tell you right now, you can read the documents. You can go to Infowars.com. In fact, go to Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com, guys. Punch this up on PrisonPlanet.tv for people. There are the documents. And I'm going to read this to people right now. Punch that up on screen. Government-issued weapons and equipment inventory form, and, of course, registering is always to confiscate, PDF, VFW district and post government-issued weapons and equipment inventory. Commanders. This has never been done before. Why is it happening now? I have been contacted by the U.S. TACOM about government-issued weapons and equipment on loan to VFW posts statewide. The essence of our conversations centered on inventory of all government's weapons and equipment by each VFW post. While you may have had possession of this equipment for 20, 40, 60, or even 100 years, it still belongs to the U.S. military. In short, every VFW post will be needed to complete the attached form and send to the department. This form will then be bounced off the central database of all Texas VFW posts at U.S. Army TACOM to verify serial numbers of each item that has been issued.